Welcome to another edition of the Real Social Proof Podcast, where we interview people who have social proof, meaning I've actually accomplished something, so much so I can teach somebody else how to do it. I have the blueprint. Why? Because I did it first. And we have some more social proof, another social proof special guest, host, speaker, confidence coach, entrepreneurship coach, just an overall dope person. Miss Sarah Fontenot, how are you?
I'm so phenomenal. I love that introduction. Thank you.
Right?
I warmed my heart up.
Oh, no doubt.
I'm ready for this. I'm feeling good.
You deserve it. All right, we're going to get into some questions today, too.
I'm ready for the grill. Let's go.
Okay.
Where's the barbecue at?
Cool.
I'm ready.
We're going to start off slow.
Okay.
So, Sarah, please introduce yourself to our audience.
What's up, guys? Like David said, my name is Sarah Fontenot, and I am the founder of the Disruptor Elite Group. I've been in entrepreneurship for 8 years now, and it's completely transformed my life. I slipped and fell into it. You know, I feel like most people slip and fall into things that they don't want to do because their family, their friends, their loved ones, everyone is telling you what you should be. Yeah. And I'm really grateful that I was never, well, I actually was, but I never listened to the people that told me what I should be, and I decided to create that person myself. So I'm excited to help other people do that same thing and live a life and build a business that we love.
Dope. So you've been an entrepreneur for 8 years. Take me back 9 to 10 years ago.
Oh, Lord.
Where were we?
Woo, struggling.
Right.
I was in a theater academy. I'm a cliche. Let's get this out of the way. I moved to Los Angeles by myself at 20 years old to pursue acting. And I'm grateful because
you said I'm a cliche.
I'm a cliche. How many, everybody, no one is really from here. Right. Everybody's a transplant.
Light skin, come to
Stop.
LA.
First of all, I'm not light
actress.
skinned. I'm brown skinned. Thank you very much. We could fight. Look, you know, I think it's a Canadian thing because back home, one, it's like all white folks. Sorry, guys, but it's real. And people thought I was dark. I'm dark skinned back home. And so I might have a complex. There might be a thing.
You are the definition of light skin.
No, I'm not. Have you seen my sister, Lauren? That's light skin. That high yellow, her high
Have
yellow.
Have you ever seen someone more light skinned?
Oh my God.
No, that's great. Okay, you're a Canadian with other white people, so of course you'd be
the dark one.
Okay.
I was dark growing up.
But here in America, you light skinned. Proceed.
People keep telling me. I keep getting that. I keep hearing it. But anyway, I moved here and I thought I wanted to be an actress because growing up, I heard the ways to be successful were doctor, lawyer, engineer, or entertainment. And doctor, blood makes me queasy. When I have a kid one day, dear God, please I don't know what's gonna happen. Right. It might be a wrap for me. That was out. And an engineer, my mom is an engineer, and I didn't want to do what my mom was doing. Lawyer, I was like, oh, bet, I can high key have some really legitimate debates. I come with I'm that's my thing. Right. But then I found out how much schooling there was and all the reading you had to do, and suddenly I was like, that's out. That's not me. And entertainment, I did some entertainment back home. I was in a series and all types of stuff. And I was like, oh, well, that's it. And I thought that I was going to move to LA to pursue acting when I was done school, but it pursued me first. And so I moved to LA and I was struggling. I mean, I was the girl that was calling my mom every month saying please, can you help me pay my rent? Right. I was the girl looking in the couch, how do I find change to put gas in my car? You know, I was the girl that had to choose between, am I going to put gas in my car? Am I gonna have food in my fridge or pay my rent on time? Wow. And literally, I tell this story all the time that I was sued for $3,500 worth of late fees because in my apartment that I lived in, out of 4 years, I only paid my rent twice on time. And I didn't know that there were late fees that were even getting tacked onto that. Yeah, so 8 to 9 to 10 years ago, and even in the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey, I was struggling. You know, when you come into doing your own thing, it's not let's just get it. No. I definitely experienced the hard parts and the mindset mandatory, I don't even want to say necessary, the mandatory mindset in order to be successful. Because life is going to be hard regardless. Things are going to happen regardless. But what are you doing to reframe and reshape the way that you look at things so that when it gets hard, you know it's still going to be okay. Right. We know that all things are happening for us and not to us. And when we can really position ourselves in a way to know all right, it must be time to level up. And sometimes it's really hard. Can I just say that? Because ooh, sometimes I'm like, surely God, like this is for the people down the street. You did not, this is not supposed to come to me. But that's just the way that it is. And so I feel like when you can develop yourself and understand, you know, there are times I was sleeping on a girlfriend's couch and I was fronting like it was my apartment, you know, to other people, but really I didn't have anywhere else to go and I wasn't going back home. And then from there I ended up in Compton. My great aunt let me live with her for 2.5 years, changed my life. And so I was struggling, but I knew that where I was not where I was always going to be. I knew that I was not my circumstance or my situation, and I was committed to changing both of those things. You know?
Yeah. So you were committed to changing the situation, and you actually changed the situation.
Yes,
right?
very much so.
But there are people that are committed to changing the situation, but for some reason they can't get off the couch.
Then they're not committed.
But how do you develop that commitment?
It's the difference between, it's your identity, who you identify with. Like, I don't identify with struggling to pay my bills every month. I don't identify with that person, so that's not gonna happen for me. And it's crazy because how we identify with ourselves is kind of like a thermostat, right? Right now the air is on in here, it's set to 72 degrees. Now, no matter how hot it gets outside, the room will find a way to cool it down so it's at 72 degrees. If it's freezing cold outside, the room will heat up. The thermostat will heat up the room in order for it to be at 72 degrees. Now our subconscious works the same exact way. We are set to a certain degree, and until we've changed the degree on the thermostat, or we've changed the way that we identify with ourselves, we will always find a way to automatically come back to the temperature that we're set at. So we can say, I want to be successful, or we can say, I'm hungry, I'm going to make a difference. But if you don't identify with yourself differently, if you don't see yourself differently, if you don't believe that it's possible for you, you're never going to make a change because you don't and we literally, even if you were to come into a business and you hit it off big, every person that hasn't actually done the work to shift the way that they identify with themselves will self-sabotage to bring them right back to where they were at. Wow. So that's why you see people that they'll hit it big, but then they'll come right back, you know, or you'll see people that, and it's not even like a monetary thing. It's like people that are like, well, I'm overweight, I'm big bone, that's just the way my life is. Okay, great, well, how is that working out for you? Because if you identify with it, you will find a way to be that. We will fight subconsciously, tooth and nail, to be the person that we believe that we are. So you've got to change your belief system around yourself. You've got to change the way that you identify with yourself. And I love how Bob Proctor, he calls it a paradigm. Tony Robbins calls it your standards. I call it an identity. How do you identify with yourself? What do you believe is true about you?
So what were those conversations like with yourself in getting yourself to believe it? Because you have this vision of where you want to be. But then we have the sight, or what we see, where we are right now. How do you continue to believe in what you saw while you're still looking at what you see?
Repetition, repetition, repetition. It's so funny. One of my businesses, I have a t-shirt line, and the shirt literally says vision over sight. I'm blind. I can't see, like, I'm not looking, especially at that time. And it's funny because looking back, hindsight 2020, when things were going wrong in my life, I always used to say, like, ooh, this is all a part of my story. Like, ooh, one of my girlfriends, she was like, yo, Sarah, like, it's not supposed to be this hard. Like, yo, Sarah, like, there's other things that you can do. And I was like, no, like, I'm doing this. I'm sticking to it. This is all a part of my story. And I didn't know that I created a mindset that said, no matter how bad it gets, no matter how crazy it gets, no matter how much I'm struggling, no matter when I'm crying myself to sleep at night, this is all a part of my story.
Were you always like that?
I've always been resilient. I got that from my mom.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So what about somebody that's not, they don't have that internal, like, thermostat?
You got to
right?
build it.
How so?
It's, well, repetition. So when you are constantly repeating it, like you want to see photos, you want to talk about it, you want to say it again and again and again. When you repeat it, right, what starts to happen is you're aware of it now. So let's say that you get a car. When you get the car, you start to see the car everywhere, where you never even saw the car before. It's like your reactive whatever activator. Anybody could be an entrepreneur. I don't know what it's called. Anyway, so you see that thing, right? You're more aware of it. Now, when you're more aware of it, what that does is it creates an evaluation of it. So when you have an evaluation of something, you get to say, oh, this is where I am, but this is where I need to go. So now that you can evaluate where you are compared to that thing, you can believe that it's possible for you because now there's a plan of action. Now you know how to get to it, which brings it back to belief, right? Which just plugs into more repetition. Right. Are you saying it? Are you speaking it? So many people are killing off their own dreams by what they say about themselves. Sure. They kill off their own visions and all of that because so one of my favorite quotes is, life and death lies in the power of the tongue. One of my favorite books, ancient book. I'm sure you read it. So,
right.
So life, yes, life and death lies in the power of the tongue. And you'll be real mindful what you speak about yourself when you realize that those things come true. Thoughts become things. Why? Because when you think about it, you start to believe it. When you believe it, you act like it. When you act like it, you shift the trajectory of your future.
That's good. So sometimes you gotta lie.
No, but
or say it until you believe it.
No, but not that too. So I actually heard an amazing woman, and she, her name is Allison Bird. I don't know if you follow her, but she's a powerhouse woman. I saw her speak I was like, first of all, who are you, homegirl? Okay, talk to me, nice. But I loved what she said because if you tell yourself and you know that it's not true, that creates more disbelief. That doesn't create more belief.
You tell yourself and you know that it's not true, it creates more disbelief.
Yeah, like let's say, as an example, if someone wants to lose weight, right? And they're like, I'm skinny. I hate that word, by the way. I feel like that's such a derogatory term, but that's neither here nor there. So let's say I'm skinny. No, if you look in the mirror and you're telling yourself I'm skinny, but then you hate yourself for feeling like you're not, that doesn't create an urge to do anything. As opposed to, if you change it to, I am becoming the kind of person who eats healthier. I am becoming the kind of person who believes in themselves. I am becoming the kind of person who, so now you're becoming it, right? Because you're speaking that and you're not lying to yourself. I am becoming the kind of person who takes my health serious. I am becoming the kind of person who won't take no for an answer. I am becoming the kind of person who will honor me before I go out with friends. And as you continue to say these things, you're repeating it, it creates repetition. Repetition creates your awareness. Awareness creates your evaluation. Evaluation creates your belief, and it goes right back into we act like we believe.
Wow.
So it's literal work, and that's why a lot of entrepreneurs these days, you're not successful because you can't do it, or because you're incapable, or because your product isn't amazing. It's because you don't believe in yourself. I personally believe that success starts and ends with the person in the mirror. And if you aren't confident in your product, if you're not talking about your product, why would anyone else?
I believe it. So, I think one of the major things, what impacted my belief is my environment, 100%.
Yes.
Just being around like positive conversations, because I think Jim Rohn said something like, your environment is doing something to you, and you have to ask yourself, is it okay? Like it's something. So I was around a group of people who weren't like the believers, and they weren't the entrepreneurs. And their lack of belief and success was doing something to me, like impacting my belief. If you go over to, I don't know, maybe a Buddhist nation, and you're not and you're currently Muslim, there's something that you're going to learn in that environment that will help, that will have you consider that particular belief system or that particular religion. Not good or bad, I'm just saying environments do something to you.
Absolutely.
So how did you, or were you ever in a negative environment?
Absolutely.
And how did you transition out?
Oh my goodness. Well, one, I feel like there's an unlearning that has to happen. And we have to be aware of where we're at and where we are our own poison. Because number one, most of us, every single person is indoctrinated into the beliefs of our parents and the school systems and our friends and our family members. And sometimes we don't even realize that even if you think you're in a good environment, it may not be a stretching environment. It may not be someone might be like, you can do it, you can do whatever, but like, you're not surrounded around the people that are actually doing it. So now there's a fear-based emotion around that thing that you want to do, but you're afraid of if you were to actually try. Sure. And so I say all of that to say that when identifying or how to get out of your environment is to not have attachment to who people think that you should be. Because a lot of the times, the reason why people don't actually try, a lot of the reason why people are like, well, I can, but if they forfeit their destiny is because their loved ones tell them either that they can't do it, that that's for them over there, that they're never going to make it, or that it's going to be really hard. And as entrepreneurs, when you're first starting, we have our own doubts. Like literally, we go through so many crazy, like if people heard our thoughts, they'd probably think we were psychologically ill, right? Like, I got this, I'm gonna go and do it. And yes, and then like, oh my God, what was I thinking? Like, oh, I'm gonna make it, I'm gonna be rich. And then it's like, oh God, I could die right now, right? Like all of those things actually happen. And then the people that you love and you care and you respect are also they're edifying your disbelief instead of your belief. And it goes back to repetition. What are you thinking about? What are you speaking? What are you hearing, right? And so I think that you've got to honor yourself and understand that who you are and how people receive you has nothing to do with others. Like let's say that I met you and I was like, damn, David is just like a really horrible human being. My opinion of you is none of your business. But a lot of the times we get bogged down by these opinions of others that don't do anything other than keep us stuck where we're at. Like how do you save the poor if you're one of them? How do you create access if you don't have any? How do you make a difference if you're not doing anything?
Right.
If you're stuck in the same place, how do you make an impact if you don't have anything to impact with? So I think how do you get out of that negative environment is understanding that it literally does not matter because usually people don't get out because they're afraid of what people will say about them, right? Bump all of that. No attachment to what others say about you, because your destiny and your calling and your Godfidence or whatever it is so much greater than the opinions of negative people. Like how are you benefiting anyone by staying stuck where you're at?
And you're in a actual transition of which takes a lot of courage, bravery. So I kind of want to go into like what you've been building over the last few years, and let's jump into that.
So I actually found my first opportunity was network marketing, and I'm grateful for it because it has a lot of the business and success principles needed without the traditional business.
For sure,
it's just awesome, right? So if you're broke, like, how do you start you need capital, and I had no capital at all. So I'm grateful, and I was able to build my business to the top 1.6% of the company. And
the top 1.6% of the entire company.
Yeah.
How many people are in the business?
Well, there's like millions. There's millions of people
Yikes.
in the business. Yeah. So I did okay, I was doing all right. And inside of that, I'm all right. And I was taking the lessons because people would always ask me, Sarah, how are you so strong? And I was like, I'm not, and maybe it's because I show up like everything's happening for me, but people don't hear what I'm telling myself. When I'm in workouts and my body is shaking and I want to quit, I'm like, don't you dare quit, Sarah. I have so many internal conversations with myself that other people just don't hear. And so they think that I'm showing up as a strong person, and I'm like, no, I'm not that strong. Number one, I just have an unwavering faith. And number two, I know that everything is happening for me and not to me. This is all part of my story, right? It goes back to how I reframe everything. And so when I was doing pretty well in the company, especially financially, and some things came up where I started doing my own businesses. So that led me to doing high ticket one-on-one coaching. Now I'm very selective with who I'll work with high ticket one-on-one coaching because it's a lot of work. And then that led me to a mindset motivation apparel t-shirt line. And then now I have my online course for more entry level or midway level entrepreneurs who are excited about getting unstuck because there's sick and tired, not enough time, not enough money. And then speaking as well. Now what I will say is the transition from going and having a company pay me really well and living in a way, which is actually, I'm just so clear that money is so respective at this point. It's relative, right? Because now I look at what I was making before and I'm like, homegirl.
Right.
What were you so afraid of, right? And
But I know, in that industry, I guess they promote that you're independent,
Yeah.
you're an entrepreneur,
You're not.
you're your own person.
No, and you get paid for exclusivity. So there's a lot of things that I found out, and I'll never down talk any company, because at the end of the day, they created access for me. The opportunity changed my life. I was able to help a ton of people get out of their situations. Just a lot of great things happened, but I found out I'm not the CEO of my own company. And if I don't play by their rules, hey, you get to forfeit this. You get to forfeit your bonus, or and for me, I'm very much rooted in like what God is calling me to. I'm not listening to any other voice. That's it. Like, that's how I operate. And I always say, like, a golden cage is still a cage. Yeah. And even though I was able to have prestige and status and the money, and no, God was saying different, Sarah. I don't want to say bigger, but different.
So you go out and do your own thing. First off, you build this huge business for them, right? You build a huge downline.
Yeah.
You bring a lot of people to the company.
Yeah.
But then the minute you start branding yourself as an entrepreneur and not labeled with this company, they're like, hold on.
Yeah, it's exclusivity.
Yeah.
And I get it, because if you come into this company and you have nothing, right, and you build the influence and then you were to just take it all away and take people, I understand they're protecting the company, and so I don't have any hard feelings towards them, and I love everyone that I still use the company products to this day, like in a major way, because I believe in them, and I love them. But I found out in the worst way, and I'm not gonna lie, honestly, when I found out, I felt like I've never been through a divorce because I've never been married, but I really felt like this is what divorce feels like. Like, there was there was grieving. I've cried. Oh, I cried so hard, because also there was a feeling of like, I don't want to let anyone down. I have all these people in the company that know who I am, and I don't want to let anyone down. And that was hard for me, because I don't want anyone to forfeit the opportunity that they could have with this company because I'm doing something different, because most people aren't going to do something different, So there was a lot of stuff. I went through a whole, like, oh my gosh, I gave blood, sweat, tears, and then for it to be like, well, this is business, to be treated so like, and that was me I definitely took it personal. Now I'm like, well, it is business,
it's business.
At the end of the business isn't emotional. And I am grateful at the end of the day. I think I also needed that to fully get me out of it, because had I been able to do both, I don't know that I would have the opportunities that I have now. And I also feel as though had they, I just think things would be everything happens for a reason, and I needed it. So I had like a super dipping, like, oh God, like back to those moments of like, who is this girl? Like, mama, you know? So, but I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. It's a tough world, but I know that I'm tougher. Okay. And now I finally understand what it means when like people are like, God gives his toughest battles to his strongest soldiers. And I'm like, God, I'm really not that strong. Like, I swear to you, I know you think I am.
But you're handling it.
But
so
and the transition, it wasn't a smooth transition, but now that I'm into my new transition, it's oh my gosh.
Isn't it freeing? Because I know you got to do a lot, and you probably still have to do calls and things of that nature, but you don't have a responsibility that's set by a company saying, yo, you got to be here, you got to be on this call at this particular time, and you get to create your own life. But speaking of like divorce, how's dating as an entrepreneur? Especially,
I knew this was going to come.
It had to come, especially because you're such a powerhouse.
Thank you.
Right? Which could be intimidating to some men, right? How is dating as this strong Sarah Fontenot entrepreneur, driven by goals, how is that?
I think that one of the things that I'm really clear on is that my pool is very small. My pool is very, very small because I want character. And that's not easy to come by these days. Not to say that it's not out there, because it definitely is. But I think that dating just gets to be what we make it. And I think that when you know yourself, I really think that's the key to dating and successful relationships. Are you self-aware enough to know what you need? So then it's easy to be like, you are it or you are not it. And it doesn't have to be bad or angry or like whatever. But I believe that when people know their core values, it's like, oh, okay. Rather than settling, rather than being like, well, I'm really lonely right now, or like, I don't.
But do you get that? So just for clarity,
Yeah.
you're single. You're a single woman. You're not like engaged or married.
I'm not engaged or married, yeah.
You're not in a long-term relationship. You might be dating every now and again. Do you date, like, kind of?
Yeah.
Something. Okay. So, but do you ever find yourself thinking, maybe I'm too picky. Maybe I just need to.
Never.
Maybe my standards are too high. Never.
No, absolutely not. And I think because, like I said, I believe that we can have it all. And I believe that I can have now, to be clear, that doesn't mean I'm gonna have a perfect man, because a perfect man doesn't exist. Like, it's not real. But what it does mean.
That's my wife. It does exist.
I bet. But what it does mean is it's a man that's perfect for me. I'm not gonna get everything that I want, but I can definitely get everything that I need. And sometimes when we're in relationships, what you need is like oxygen, right? You need it to live. And relationships are the biggest choice you could ever make in your entire life. Like, it depicts your whole entire future. It's not some light, easy peasy, like, oh, this person makes me feel good. No, it's a commitment. And that's why most relationships end in divorce, because people they're not ready for the struggles, and like after the honeymoon phase is over in a relationship, or people move in together and now it's convenient because you split rent, or like there are so many things that start to happen, and it's like, I don't want that. I don't want that at all. I would rather have a person that understands we can understand one another, and we can really create and are open to growth and evolution. And I think that when you know yourself and you know your partner, like, I want a Mount Everest kind of relationship. It's hard. You know what I mean? Like I want to build schools in Africa and build hospitals and provide sanitizing systems for clean water all over the world, and have programs for foster girls to know that we get to be, do, and have whatever we want to be, do, and have. And I want to speak to women. I also want to be a super present mom and an incredible wife, and learn how to travel the world with our family and teach history by being there, not from a book. Like, that's the life that I want. And so if you're not in alignment with the person, like, if you want a Mount Everest relationship and they want a walk in the park, you'll both always feel like you're either doing too much or not enough. And that's not fair to either person. And on top of that, I feel like it's not to say that they're not great people. Like, just because two people can't be together doesn't make them bad people. It just means y'all aren't equally yoked. If I want to climb Mount Everest and I'm trying to take you along with me, they're gonna get killed off a little into the mountain. Like, I don't wanna do this anymore.
Do you feel yourself dragging, like, or obviously it might not get that deep, but in relationships you start dating, do you at some point feel like you're pulling somebody along and you've got to let them go?
No, I don't think I attract men that I would need. I attract Mount Everest men.
And what's the problem with that, though? Because there has to be a problem with the Mount Everest man. Because typically they know
everything, right?
They're on top of the world.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, I definitely would say, I don't think it's a problem. And you know me, I'm like, good, bad, right, or wrong, it is what it is. Like, good and bad don't exist to me. Problems don't really exist to me. So I feel like.
You're really a homeboy. Like,
I am really a homeboy.
There's like the ultimate homie, like, for sure.
Like, really and truly. Yeah. So I feel like in that aspect, it's just, where do we link? You know, like, there's gonna be times, and then I think also, I'm Sarah Fontenot, woman, entrepreneur, strong lady, but when I'm with my man, I don't want to be all of that, like, at all. Like, can I take off my armor, please? Like, I don't want that. I have no desire to be the type of woman who's like, I've got this. No, I'm following your lead. Like my man, I'm following you. I don't need to go. I don't want to be, I don't want that.
Yeah.
I don't want that. And I don't think that there's a right or wrong way to do it. I think it's just honor yourself, you know? And I think that the thing that I love about a Mount Everest man is that they're either ahead of me in the climb and I get to catch up, or it's like, oh, we're climbing together, you know? And
but you wouldn't necessarily be attracted to somebody that you have to encourage and build.
I've done that too. I've definitely done that.
What's that process like?
Ooh, well, so this is what I found. This is gonna sound really like, it is what it is. I feel as though when a man is down, I don't even wanna say when a man is down, a man period needs to be encouraged. And I think that a lot of the times women, especially successful women, they get into a space where they feel like it's a competition, so I can't compliment you, or I can't build you up, or I can't encourage you. I think by nature, I'm a very encouraging person. So it's not about a man that isn't there yet, because success is like this, right? Hopefully it's upward. So that the trajectory is up, but success is it's versatile. Like if you make $100 million a year, you might make $100 million that year. Next, you might be 95, might drop down to 52, then come back up to 76. There's no guarantees in it, right? And so when it comes to are you asking about an unsuccessful monetarily man?
I mean, some people have a lot of money. You gotta get them to believe in themselves. They might have a really good job, and you just gotta get them to believe in. I'm just talking about pulling someone along.
Yeah, I don't think I attract that either. I attract. Now, to be fair, I don't feel like I've ever had to pull anyone, but I believe in encouraging. Like I said, life and death is in the power of the tongue. I want life. I'm going to speak into you. I'm going to, you know, and any man I'm a challenger, you know, and not in a way of like break you down, but like, let's build this up. Like, let's take this somewhere. Let's get this empire life.
So what are the principles of building someone, period? Because you've had a lot of people that you bring into the business, you develop them, and you've got people to six figures, right? So what are the elements of developing someone, maybe not necessarily pulling them? Because I'm sure you've recruited some people that you've had to pull along.
Yeah.
But you've also recruited some same people that weren't in a good situation that you've developed.
Right.
So what is the difference, and how do you know when you're pulling versus developing?
I think how they show up is the difference. And this was really hard, especially for women, because we are very maternal and we want everyone to have everything they say they're gonna have, and the reality of it is they may not be ready for that yet. A lot of people are asking for blessings, they're not even ready to carry yet. They're not strong enough, they haven't built the muscle, right? And so I feel like inside of building a person and developing a person, I can give you the blueprint, but I can't do the work for you. So if you don't show up for you, I'm not showing up for you anymore. And I have no more attachment to whether or not you show up for you. I can speak life. I can, you know, show up on the calls. I can give you the blueprint. But at the end of the day, that's why there's a 97% that we walk away from, right? That's why there's a top 3% and a top 1%. Top 1% is only over $400 and some $1,000 a year. That's not a lot of money. That's really not. People think I want to get to six figures. Let me tell you right now, $100,000 is the best of the worst and the worst of the best.
Facts.
I swear to you, you're in a new tax bracket. You might as well make $55,000 a year. You're probably going to end up with the same amount of money at the end.
Oh, fam.
Like really and truly.
My first year, I made $100,000. I felt like I had more money when I was working at the Cheesecake Factory. I had like these wads of cash, but at 100, for one, I didn't get to keep the whole 100 because I had to put money into a product to make the 100. Then employees, and I'm like, I thought this six-figure thing was glamorous.
Yeah, and that's what they make us think, right? Again, we're indoctrinated to what we think success is. Well, it's not successful to me when I see the doctor. Okay, yeah, you might be making $250,000 a year, but you only see your family 16 hours out of the week. That's not success to me. And that's why I'm saying the mental, the financial, the spiritual, the physical, and the whatever the fifth, mental or emotional, right? All five of those things, to me, is success. That is whole life happiness. When you have, what else is there, right? When you know yourself, when you're mentally strong. And so when developing people, number one, you've got to have patience, because really and truly it takes 2 to 5 years to develop a leader. And that's in anything, right? And I know because I've developed a lot of leaders. I've developed, and even now, doing leadership training with corporate people. And there's just things that I see because repetition takes time to develop that awareness, then develop the evaluation, then instill a new belief that you have to continue to repeat and redo that same thing. It takes time for someone to actually believe in themselves. And so I think that patience is important to understand that if they're showing up for a reason. If they want it, they're going to show you that they want it. So there's a story that I love, and it talks about Mount Everest, right? An author, it's called The Sacred Search, and the author has climbed Mount Everest 2 times before. And the author is talking
Do you want to
about...
climb Mount Everest?
No, never in my whole life.
Okay, cool.
No,
You
I don't
talk
even want to
about
run a marathon.
I don't know if you seem like
No.
a man. Like,
No, absolutely. No, I'm the homeboy, but I ain't like that. Like, no. But he talks about how no matter how much, if a 300-pound man came to him and said, I want to climb Mount Everest. I'm going to get all the equipment that I need. I'm excited. I'm ready. Like, just tell me what I need to do. I'm ready. Let's go. We're going to climb Mount Everest. The author says, I would respectfully decline. Because what happens is, not only is that man going to die on his way up the mountain, but he's probably going to kill you off as well because he's that unprepared. And how often do we take 300-pound energy and we put it on our backs and try to climb up Mount Everest in this thing called life and wonder why we're getting killed off in the process? Right. There's a level of conditioning that has to happen first. There's a level of, you got to get in the gym. And I'm not even just talking about physically, emotionally, spiritually, financially. Like, there are things that you have to exercise day in and day out. There's a conditioning that has to happen first so that you're able to not only go and have the opportunity to say, I'm going to climb Mount Everest, but the hopes that you're not going to die on the way up. You know, and I feel like so many leaders, what we do is, it's like Jim Rohn says, I'm going to make you successful if it kills me. And then I almost died, right? Like, that's a real thing. And for me, I'm like, look, I will climb up and I will leave you a ladder. And if you want to climb, I'm right here. Like, I got everything that you need, but I will not put you on my back. Because the poor can't help the poor. You know, the weak can't help the weak. I know I got to be strong for me, but I can give you the blueprint. I can show you what to do. I can give you the steps. And the same way that I did it, you can do it too. Because I'm not more special than anybody. There's nothing more special about me than anyone else. There's nothing more gifted about me than anyone else. I'm actually a nut, and usually, you know I am. I am crazy. I'm a crazy lady, and most times people think my energy is too high. They're like, whoa, that's a lot. I don't even know how to deal with her. Or people think I'm unrelatable because they'll judge me when they first see me, and it's like, yo, have a conversation. I'm really, like, I'm a cool person. So I'm not more special than anyone. I am just a person that decided I will not fail. Now, I'm going to experience failure because there is no success without failure. But I won't fail because I won't quit until I get there. When do you stop going? You go until. What does until look like? Whatever you want it to look like.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think that in developing leaders, there's patience required, but you got to let people want it for themselves. You got to let people show up. There's conditioning required. There's dues that need to be paid. Lord have mercy. And for some, you know, it's like, it's the homelessness story. It's a Cheesecake Factory story. Sure. There's a lot of stories, and that's your conditioning.
And what do you think some of some things you're trying to grow in the journey? Because a lot of people look up to you. I mean, you travel the world, and when you come to their city or their country, they're like, oh my gosh, Sarah. But what are some things that that you're even struggling with today? Because people look at successful people and they think, oh, they're just successful, when we all struggle. There's always something else that I want to develop. But what are some things that you are trying to work through and grow through in your process, like even now?
I think as I continue to go to higher levels, like people looking at my life, I swear it doesn't make any sense. And I think it's because I don't ask about the how. The how is this going to happen? I don't ask those questions. I just know that it's going to happen and God is going to make a way. So I trust in the journey. And sometimes, now I've experienced really low lows, but I've also experienced really high highs. Right. And I feel as though as I'm going on in my journey, the opportunities that I'm getting because of the relationships that I build, or the people that know me, or, you know, the gifts that we all have that I'm putting on display. Like, look, like I'm my God-given gift. And I think it's important for us to know what those things are, is speaking life into people. I can temporarily inspire just about anybody, but fully committing, that's up to them. You know what I mean? But fully committed versus temporarily inspired. And, I think one of the things, and I was just having a conversation with my girlfriend while I was in Ohio. I just got back, I think yesterday. Everything's a blur. I don't know. But anyway, I think that it's imposter syndrome, because as I earn more money, it's like, oh, like, but do I deserve this? And I think that because I don't feel like I struggle as much, like I do so much inner talk. I do so much like, I'm going to be okay. Everything is perfect. Everything is great. I'm going to bless my family. I'm going to do this. And I speak it. But then when it starts to get here, it's still almost like, well, really?
Oh, wow.
Like I really deserve all of this, you know? And sometimes, and then I have to remember, well, Sarah, I bring value. And even as we all grow, and I do really well, and I'm really grateful for the blessings that I've received in my life. I know that it's not me, and sorry for y'all that don't feel that way, but I know that it's not me. It's that thing working inside of me. And if it's okay, can I be spiritual for like 2 seconds?
Good thing.
So one of the things that I realized inside of my journey is that God is inside of every single one of us. And even when you take things biblically, right? And I know you know quite a bit. We've had conversations about the Bible, God, all of that. But one of the things that I think about is how in the Bible it talks about how God took clay, and in order to form Adam, he brought clay to his mouth and blew life, right? Blew life. And if we all come from Adam, God isn't in pieces. God is everywhere. It's everything. And people may call it the universe. People may call it he, she, it, they. I don't care. Whatever it is, right? It's everything. It's everywhere. So if God is not in pieces, and we all come from that initial, and then even Eve, who came from his rib, right? So it's inside, for all descendants or ascendants or whatever of Adam and Eve, then God is inside of every single one of us. And if God is inside of every single one of us, God has no limits. So why would we limit ourselves? So when they say, speak those things, like life and death lies in the power of the tongue, when they say, you know, you've got to believe it, when they say, where there is no vision, people perish, where they say faith without works is dead, when they say all of these things, it's because it's true. Why not you? Why not me? Why not us? What, like why not actually tap into source and know that anything and all things are possible? And so that's where I have to go back to remember that, like, I think at the end of the day, one of the biggest human things that stops me up is, am I worthy?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people struggle with worthiness.
Yeah.
I saw a statistic that 66% of people don't think anyone would care if they died. So when you round up, that means 7 out of 10 people don't even think they matter. Yeah. Am I worthy? And even though, you know, I think I've worked really hard on myself, I'm still a human being. And inside of being a human being comes with emotion. I wish I was a lion or a tiger. Like if I was hungry, I'd go eat. If I'm tired, I go sleep. But I'm a human being. And so I just get to remind myself and know that, yes, you know, the question comes up, but then it's like, okay, yes, like, yeah, Sarah, you bring value, whatever. But there is a bit of that like imposter syndrome of like, me, you know?
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, no, cast that down. Like, no, of course me. Why not me?
Right,
like,
right.
what, who else, you know?
For sure.
But I think that's probably the thing that I fight with the most.
Yeah. And I think you'll continue to be successful just because of your transparency and knowing. So some people, they'll like kind of affirm themselves to death in terms of, oh, no, I'm great and everything, excellent. I do everything great. But like when you have that real moment, and you can not only talk about your strengths, but also your non-strengths. When your non-strengths start to show its head, you can kind of snap yourself in, oh, I'm doing it again. I'm doing it again. Okay, come on, I'm Sarah, come on.
Right.
No more, right?
Right.
So I got another question. First off, you'll be at Social Proof this year.
Yes, I will. I'm so excited.
Yeah, absolutely. You are just a powerhouse, and I've been able to see, just been blessed to be your friend over the last few years. And just been able to see your growth and development. And it's really, really special to see, you know, like you're just this ball of energy, but also transparent enough to let everyone know, yeah, I'm going through something right now, but I'm getting over it.
Right.
Like, it's not a pity party,
Right.
but as encouragement. But I want to know, I like to make predictions on the podcast. So I want to know where you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years. So when you say it now, in 5 to 10 years, we'll dig up the tapes, we'll look at the interview and say,
I'm
wow,
ready.
Sarah said she was going to do it 5, 10 years ago.
Yeah. 5 years.
She did it.
I don't
So
need 10.
let's talk to her. Give me the 5.
5
Let's do it.
years, $10 million earned net. I will have impacted
You ain't
over...
throw the net on there,
net.
did you?
Yeah, not gross. We
10
don't need
million
gross.
net. Okay.
I will have impacted over 100,000 people with my course. I'm really excited to start getting into work overseas, doing like the stuff that my heart work, not just my hard work. My mom will be retired. My parents' house will be paid off. I will probably be a wife and a mom.
Well, probably.
Yeah,
for
you
sure,
know,
for sure.
5 years from now, yeah, better be.
Y'all act right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
What's
Y'all
up?
better act.
Oh, what's up? Probably that, and then yeah, that's my 5 year. My 5 year. I get to be a really present mom. I get to be an awesome wife. Not all the time because I'm a human being, you know. And 10 million earned net. My course is taking off and speaking around the world.
Oh, wow. Awesome. So tell everybody where they can follow you. Also tell them about the course. Let them know about the course because people need this.
Yes, fire me up. Okay, well, Ms. Sarah Fontenot, M-S-S-A-R-A-H. Fontenot looks like Fontenot, but it's Fontenot, so F-O-N-T-E-N-O-T. That's on like all net platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'm like real whack on Twitter. I'm just gonna let you guys know that right now. Like my following is mad small, but I think I give some nuggetry on there. I'm just saying.
Nuggetry.
Nuggetry. You gotta take the nuggets. And then my course, the Disruptor Elite Group is amazing. It is an online course. And the focus, the first module, which I really love, so take your time if you do decide to get started with the course, but it's the heart work and the hard work on self. So it's developing your belief, it's developing your confidence, it's how to find your purpose, it's how to be effective with your time in your business, it's effective Facebook ads, it's how to start. It's literally from A to Z. You just get to figure out what is your thing so you can get started powerfully and like really just go all in. The whole focus is to help people help themselves create the life and business they love. And I really truly believe about, you know, how we're talking about leaving a ladder. Like I can't climb for you, but you can climb for yourself. I can't build your business, but you can build your own. And I think that my course is a really amazing opportunity to do that. I'm like, me and the team are excited about like what it was. And yeah, that's it.
All right, listen, make sure y'all follow Miss Sarah Fontenot.
Let's go.
We'll see y'all at the conference.